Hi, and welcome back here on the Senior Network. We're discussing wills and power of attorney and those types of things. And Rebecca, it made me want to think about really a will and a trust. What's the difference with that?
So the best way to think about a will is your instructions to the probate court. A will is the most common estate planning document. It's the document that everybody thinks about. We get phone calls all the time with clients. I just want a will, that's all I need. And the point of a will is to state who you want to administer your estate, so your executor, or in South Carolina we call them personal representatives. And you want to dictate where your estate goes, which is when we were talking about leaving money to nonprofits. If you want to leave money to a nonprofit, you really want to make sure you have a will, and you really want to make sure that you state in your will the nonprofit if you haven't made other arrangements with putting him as a beneficiary on life insurance or an annuity. And when you pass, all the assets that you die owning in your own individual name go through probate, and your will tells the court, this is who's inheriting. Whereas a trust is a more complex document, and essentially when you create a trust, you take all the assets from your name, you title them in the name of your trust. For example, my trust is called the Pickett Mill Trust because that's my street name. And my house, my car, and my bank account say the Pickett Mill Trust with me as the trustee. So if I were to pass, my estate doesn't go through probate, and my trust fleshes out, this is who controls, this is where everything goes. And the same thing when you want to name a charity, you want to specifically state it in the trust. So that's the difference. Trusts are really great too if you've got a blended family. You want to do more than just dictate, here's who's going to inherit.
Right. And I think a lot of people maybe think that the word trust means you have to have a lot of money or whatever. That's not the fact. I mean,
you don't have a lot of money. As I said, the moment you turn 18, you need a will, a healthcare power of attorney, and a durable power of attorney. So, you know, my brother is a Horry County parole officer. He by no means has millions and millions of dollars, and he has a trust which holds his one bank account, his house, and his car. Trusts are great for people who want to avoid probate, who are maybe in a blended family and want to make sure that when they pass, you know, their children from a previous relationship can still inherit. And it's really good if you have any issues. We like to call them outlaws. The most common request we get is clients coming in and saying, I kind of like my daughter-in-law, but... And so you can draft a trust that basically says, you know, when we pass, everything goes to my child and then to my grandchild. And you get to skip the daughter-in-law because, for example, if I'm married and I die and my estate plan says everything to my husband, he inherits. So if I inherit from my parent and then pass, my husband essentially gets what's mine and what I inherited. Whereas if you have a trust, you get to kind of skip the outlaw.
And, you know, just thinking about what you're talking about, you know, sitting down with families, I know the dynamics of blended families and stepbrothers and sisters and all this stuff, you really have to sit down and think through that whole process on where things are going to flow, right? You do,
and people get really upset when you ask them, well, when you pass, where do you want your estate to go? What if your child predeceases you?
Right.
And it's also good because, you know, as you age, you come into contact with a lot of people, a lot of charities. We have a lot of clients that volunteer. We have a lot of clients that want to leave monies to places that have helped them. And so it is really a family discussion. Now, if your kids get all up in arms when you talk about your estate plan, that's a different subject.
Sure.
But we really encourage you to talk to your children, especially so that if you have a specific plan and the kids don't agree with it, you've had that conversation and the kids are aware, this is what I want, this is what I have in writing.
And if I understand correctly, a life insurance policy would be separate. That wouldn't flow through at a trust, right?
Right. So a life insurance policy, an annuity, and an IRA, you name beneficiaries. So they stay as is, and you always want to make sure you have your primary beneficiary and a contingent, but they stay separate.
Darlene, that's a lot to keep up with.
That's a lot. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed.
Well, it brings up a good point, though. You guys work a lot with folks with trust and so forth, right?
And I think really what we see a lot is people haven't had the conversation. So there may be, you know, seniors who have it all with their attorneys or they have it, you know, with each other, but they've not shared it with their children. And then it's almost a rude awakening for the children. So I think the conversations, we're always encouraging, have those conversations, sit down and talk about the what ifs, you know, sit down and talk about what you want and what it looks like for you. And even in, you know, healthcare power of attorney and advanced directives, what does life support look like for you? Is it just hydration, or is it something else? And really have those conversations so that your loved ones don't have to make those decisions for you.
And I can imagine, even with your staff, you have social workers on staff, right?
Absolutely.
So you probably
yeah.
get involved with having a lot of those types of discussions.
Sure, yeah. They have those discussions, and long-term care insurance, they have those, they're looking those things over all the time. And there's a lot that people don't realize behind the scenes. And for you, I think having the ability to get people talking and sharing is huge.
And that's one of the great things about those workshops too, is a lot of people, when they walk through the law firm door, it's a different kind of atmosphere, which is why Brian and I really want people to feel comfortable in here. But the workshops are great because you're kind of in an informal setting, and you get to interview Brian or myself, whichever one's doing the workshop, and you get to ask those really pointed questions that maybe when you walk into our office you don't want to ask. And we do have a lot of people that come in and say, well, I told my kid I came to this workshop. We finally started talking about it. Can my child come in? Can we have them? I mean, I've Skyped in children on the laptop for meetings, and it's a good way to get it started, because you might not know that mom volunteers at Hospice of the Lowcountry, and if something happens, that's what she prefers to. Or, mom does a lot of time with Noah's Ark or PALS or something like that, and that's what she's wanting.
Great information, Rebecca. Thank you so much. Thank you, Darlene. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Stay with us here on the Senior Network. We'll be right back.